Hi, and welcome to Ottawa English. In this video, we're going to take a look at all these examples that you're supposed to include in your main paragraphs when you write a response to an IELTS Writing Task 2 essay. And so whether you're writing a discussion essay, an opinion essay, a pros and cons essay, or a problem solution essay, you need to build your body paragraph with a topic sentence, an explanation, and an example. So we're going to look at that example part. So what does a good example look like? Well, first of all, a good example needs to be specific. In other words, it needs to develop the paragraph's main idea. Next, it needs to be optimized. And by that, I mean it shouldn't be too long or too short. It also needs to be clear. You should use simple, straightforward vocabulary when you write your example. Just imagine trying to clarify your point to a 10-year-old child. You might not get there 100%, and you'll see in some of the examples we're going to look at that I don't. But try, okay? Go in that direction rather than making them more complicated. Fourth, it should flow logically. It shouldn't have any twists and turns. It should just be about the topic of the paragraph. It also should be very easy to understand. And there's that 10-year-old again. And then finally, it should be relevant to the point you're making in your paragraph, and it should be focused on your main idea. So, okay, let's take a look at 6 examples and see if they meet those requirements. This is the first one. The essay discusses the advantages and disadvantages of exams and continuous assessment as a way of assessing students. And this first paragraph talks about how exams save teachers a lot of time. So leaving the assessment to a final exam at the end of the semester saves teachers a lot of time preparing, tracking, and marking their students' ongoing submissions. The fixed structure, clear instructions, and comparable results of these exams seem at first glance to offer a one-stop shop. For example, in one recent study by a reputable high school, teachers were found to save a full 3 hours every week when they set a final exam, rather than assessing their students' performance throughout the term. Moreover, they noticed how the fixed exam structure made it easy to follow a student's progress by comparing exam results year over year, which is something that is far more difficult and time-consuming with continuous assessment. So, does my example reflect the main idea of the paragraph? Does it build on it? And yes, it does. So we can say that it is specific. I think we can say it's optimized. It may be a little bit long because but because it helps to balance out the length of the paragraph with the second paragraph, that's okay. I don't think there's any question that it's clear, although that 10-year-old child might disagree because he may struggle teensy-weensy bit with the vocabulary. I think it's coherent, it's logical, even though it illustrates 2 points, both time-saving and the one-stop shop. The first point is wrapped up in a tight little package, and the second point follows it in its own neatly wrapped package. So yeah, I think we can say it's coherent. Is it easy to understand? Yeah, the 10-year-old in me says yes, sort of. And is it relevant to the main point in the paragraph and focused on the main idea? Yes. So I've met all of the criteria in that example, and that makes it a good example. There's another example in this paragraph, and it's down here. And here I'm talking about the disadvantage of exams because they don't encourage real learning. And my example says, in the same high school study mentioned above, it was found that students who were assessed by a final exam were far less likely to have retained the tested information when retested a month later compared to students who had been assessed continuously. And I think that we can say that that is specific because it develops the paragraph's main idea. It's optimized. Its length may even be a little better than the one in the previous paragraph. It's certainly clear. It's got the coherence going. It's logical. It is easy to understand. The 10-year-old at least says mostly. And it is relevant to the point I'm making in the paragraph, and it's focused on the main idea. Okay, let's take a look at another one. So this one is a problem solution essay that's looking at the inactivity among working people. The first paragraph talks about the problem that's being caused by the way some employers measure their staff's productivity, and the example elaborates on that problem. So it says that work metric makes it difficult for office workers to move around during the workday, and by the time they get home, their energy levels are so low that even the thought of going for a walk is exhausting. Without that exercise, their muscles become inactive, blood stops circulating properly, and ill health gets hold. And so I think we can say that that example is specific because it elaborates on the main idea of the paragraph. It doesn't result in one paragraph being longer than the other. So yes, I would say it's optimized. It's also clear, although that 10-year-old child inside me might still struggle a little, but that's more because he doesn't have any concept of the workplace. At least that's what I would argue. It's not really a vocabulary issue. It is coherent. It elaborates on the topic of the paragraph, and it's logical. A 10-year-old would mostly understand it, and it's relevant and focused on the main idea. This second example elaborates on the solution to this inactivity issue that makes up the second paragraph. So, for example, some companies locate water coolers in areas that require their workers to go up and down stairs, post notes on elevators, reminding employees of the benefits of using the stairs, and encourage employees to park further from the building so that they have to walk across the car park. Oh, so cruel. So I think we can say that that example is specific because it develops the main idea of the paragraph. We can also say that it's optimized because it delves into some of the very tangible things that employers can do to motivate movement in their employees. I don't think there's any question that it's clear. There's nothing here that a 10-year-old wouldn't understand. It's coherent, it's logical. It's easy to understand, at least the 10-year-old in me says yes. And it's relevant to the point I'm making in the paragraph, and it's focused on the main idea. So let's go on to an opinion essay and look for the same things. In this opinion essay about whether it's reasonable to expect tourists to be environmentally and culturally responsible, The first paragraph talks about how enforced regulations reduce the wear and tear on historic relics. So, for example, when Seoul, which is a popular tourist destination, invested resources in preparing, implementing, and enforcing regulations that restricted the movement of tourists around historic artifacts, the deterioration of its structures slowed dramatically. So I think we can say that that is specific because it develops the paragraph's main idea by talking about a tourist destination where enforced regulations are being used. I think we can say it's optimized because it's not too short and it's not too long. It's certainly clear, although that 10-year-old child might struggle with the word implementing. It is certainly coherent and logical. It elaborates on the topic of the paragraph. And it's easy to understand, at least the 10-year-old in me says mostly. And it's relevant to the point I'm making in the paragraph and focused on the main idea. This second example talks about educating tourists and the part that plays in encouraging good behavior. So, for instance, according to a study conducted by a national newspaper, 90% of travellers admitted to feeling more responsible for protecting the places they visited when it was explained to them. And so, yes, I would say that that is specific because it develops the paragraph's main idea. It doesn't result in one paragraph being longer than another, so I would say it is optimized. It's certainly clear, and it elaborates on the topic of the paragraph, so it's logical, it's coherent. I think a 10-year-old would understand it quite easily, and it's relevant, and it's focused on the main idea. Okay, so we've looked at 6 excellent examples, all of which reflect the main criteria that helps you achieve a great score for your examples. So keep these criteria in mind as you prepare for the writing section of the IELTS test. Okay, remember that they should be specific, not vague or general. Your examples should be optimized. It's okay to make them a little bit bigger if you're trying to balance out your paragraphs, but both of your paragraphs should be roughly the same length. They should be clear, not too complicated. Remember that 10-year-old child. They should be coherent and flow logically. And they should be easy to understand. Remember that 10-year-old child again. And they should be relevant and focused on your main idea. I hope this video has helped you a little. Thanks for watching, and if you need a little help with your preparation, please don't hesitate to contact me at 613-614-6460. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.